If you don't know what the Pantanal is, it's the world's largest wetland area, and it's located in Brazil. For my wife's first trip visiting my home country, we wanted to dive deep into nature, and Pantanal was the perfect place. At the wrong time. The only time we had available to visit was during the wet season, January, and we decided to risk it. I recommend you go in the dry season, when the road conditions are a bit better and there is a higher likelihood of seeing wild animals. In any case, spirits were high as we were driving down, even as my senses were picking up on the amount of risk that we were getting into by the terrible road and bridges to get there. When we arrived at the only hotel that would host us, Berço Pantaneiro, as all others were closed as it was off-season, things started off well. They were very hospitable, the food was humble but good, and we were excited for the safaris that were to come in the following days. We set off in our first Pantanal safari day, which is the reason to go there. You have an incredible chance to see a rich variety of wildlife like caimans, multiple types of birds, giant otters, capybaras, and many other animals. Our guide Batata is an incredible human being, knowledgeable, humble, and showed genuine care for the animals and the land, which, as you can imagine, is under constant threat of deforestation and cattle grazing.
Move! That calf doesn't want to move.
We spent our entire days on the boat, rain or shine, and sometimes under heavy rain. Here we were under heavy mosquito attack while we were waiting for the jaguars that never came. Maybe they too were bored with the rain and seeking shelter. So we're closing out the second day of our safari in Pantanal. Unfortunately, we did not get to see any of the jaguars, which is funny because we had 3 days here. We did a safari on the first, saw a lot of wildlife, but unfortunately no jaguars. Chose not to do one on the second, and then some people did and did see jaguars. They saw a couple, and finally we came out on the third day, did another safari, but I guess it wasn't our turn. They just didn't want to come out, so it's time for the next leg of the trip. You want to say something?
Well, we got this one today with Batata.
Who's Batata?
Well, he's the captain of our ship.
Yeah, there's Batata in the back. Great guy.
He's a friend of the animals, which means he's a friend of ours.
Nice. So yeah, we're off to the next leg of the journey now. The village of Porto Jofre receives electricity by a single power cable. And as our luck would have it, there was an accident on the road and a truck knocked the power out. The hotel had no backup generator, heck, they didn't even have flashlights, and after a day and a half of no electricity, the only food we had was getting spoiled by no refrigeration, among other more normal things like finding a scorpion in our bedroom one night. With that, we decided to leave one day early after coming back from our second safari day. It had rained a lot, and the hostel staff advised us not to go because the road would be dangerous. We had rented a 2x2 Jeep Compass and decided to risk it, as we did not want to spend any minute longer in that place.
Damn, that was bad.
I still remember when one of the local guides came to me, held my 2 shoulders with his hands and said, "Stick to the middle of the road and don't stop." Those were wise words. It was a harrowing drive back on a very muddy road. No cell phone service,
Propaganda de
and the
graça pra
fear of
Jeep.
getting stuck or washing out. We were also trying to beat the setting sun because it would have been even harder to drive at night only with headlights. Everything was happening on this trip back. At one point, the multimedia unit of the Jeep started to melt because it was overheating, and I lost track of how many miles there were left until we hit the asphalt. When we finally did, I was pale and the car was covered in mud from top to bottom. Would I recommend you visit Pantanal at least once in your life? Absolutely! Plan well in advance, go in the dry, not in the rainy season, make sure your hotel speaks English if you don't speak Portuguese, and rent a good SUV that can take on the muddy road in case you need it. We sure did. Until the next one.